Come in with a bang and leave with a boom. That's the rule for any type of content: textual, visual, and auditory. Same goes with podcasts. Good intros and outros are a nice way to add spice and personality to your show. So if you truly want to hook your listeners into your show and show them that you actually put effort in it, work on your show's introduction and conclusion. The secret ingredients are catchy music, concise pitch, and engaging tone of voice. Don't be overwhelmed though. We have prepared some tips and tricks to help you out. So let's jump into it. First impressions count. To do something well, first we need to understand what we're trying to achieve. Your intro plays an important role in showing that you're professional and informative in all aspects of your podcast. It has 4 main objectives: grab your audience's attention, introduce yourself and your podcast, set the mood for the rest of the show, and tell them what's to be gained if they stay around. When it comes to the duration of your intros and outros, anywhere between 30 seconds to 2 minutes is fine. However, the more concise and informative you can be, the better. Once you get a grasp on it, you can also record a unique intro for each episode. Keep in mind that you have very little time to hook a new listener, so make those seconds count. Introduce yourself. This is how you start bonding with your listener. Your audience should have a name associated with your voice. It doesn't have to be your full name. On your podcast, you are free to be whoever you want. However, make sure it goes in line with the overall theme of your show. Describe your podcast. Who is it for? How will it benefit your listeners? Don't get into your episode out of the blue. There should be a reason to stay for those who have stumbled upon your podcast for the first time. Make sure you describe your show, but don't get too specific so that your listeners get intrigued to know more. Include a summary of the forthcoming episode. Both your loyal listeners and the newcomers will appreciate this one. Give a few highlights about what's to go down. If you're going to have a guest, let your audience know, or keep it a surprise. It's good to build up your audience's anticipation, but don't overdo it. Tell about the disclaimers, spoiler alerts, any contest up front. If you have exciting news to share, include them in your podcast intro to hype up your listeners. And if you have any spoilers in your episode, don't forget to mention them too. You never know how cautious your audience might be when it comes to protecting themselves from unwanted information. So make sure that your podcast doesn't turn into one of the places they avoid. Finish on a high note. Once the show is over, most listeners won't hang around for too long, so make sure to include only the most important. Thank your audience for spending some of their precious time with you. Credit your collaborators. Ask them to rate, review, and subscribe, and tell them about the platform where you build your community. Remember, a good podcast outro should convert listeners into subscribers. Still, it does not mean you should stuff it with too many CTAs. Keep it short, but to the point. Say your goodbyes and fade out the music. Intro and outro voiceovers. Once you decide what information to include in your intro and outro, your script is ready. Tweak it a little bit and record it. By the way, if you need a simple tool to record and edit perfect intro and outro voiceovers, don't forget to check out Podcastle. Time to get groovy. Now that we've figured how to do a podcast intro and outro, let's get to the musical part. The background music of your podcast intros and outros helps you brand your show and sets the right mood for it. However, there's a lot to consider when it comes to using music that you haven't created yourself. Don't use copyrighted music. Trust us, you don't want to mess with copyright laws. If you have stumbled upon a music track on the internet, it most likely belongs to someone. Unless you're ready to pay for a license, it's best to go with the royalty-free options. Don't make the music too loud. Everyone wants their music taste appreciated, yet your podcast isn't the best place to showcase it. Background music should stay in the background and not overshadow your voice and the information that you're sharing. Test your music in different environments. It's best to test your recording in different places and on a variety of devices. Try car stereos, headphones, or pretty much anything else that comes to your mind. It will help you understand how it sounds to your listeners and what should be improved. You might think that good music for podcasts can be free, but in fact you can dig up some real gems and find the perfect tune. So unless you have the resources and time to create your podcast track on your own, it's worth giving the royalty-free music a try. The lifetime goal is to get your listeners to hum along with your podcast intros and outros. Once your greeting becomes a catchphrase, you've made it. Until then, have fun experimenting and developing your creative vision.